You're listening to Three Things to Know with Stephanie Haney, with experts and insiders on what you need to know in Northeast Ohio.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the Three Things to Know podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Haney, and as always, very excited to have you here with me today. And I know I say this a lot, but this time, maybe the most excited that I've been because I am just such a fan. Full disclosure, big fan of the guest that we have today. We are talking with comedian Iliza Shlesinger, and she is so talented, you guys. The reason we're talking with her is because her Back in Action tour, the current comedy tour that she's working on, it's coming with a Netflix special. This will be her 6th Netflix special, and it's coming here to Cleveland. She is shooting the special here in Cleveland, so I'm not saying that you're going to just see this tour and then you'll see it become a Netflix special shot somewhere else. No, she is shooting it here in Cleveland in Playhouse Square. So Cleveland's going to get a good spotlight out of this. We are going to be on the national stage with this, what I'm sure will be an incredible performance. You know, she's already had 5 Netflix specials. They are called, so that you can find them, War Paint, Freezing Hot, Confirmed Kills, Elder Millennial, and Unveiled. And she shot them in several different cities. We'll talk with her about that. And they chose Cleveland for whatever reason. So that's what I want to talk to her about is why did we end up graced with this incredible performance coming here to Cleveland, and a little bit about what we can expect to see potentially. You know, we've really kind of, if you've been following her at all, and if you haven't, if you go back and watch those specials, I think you'll really see her grow up with her audience, her grow as her comedy continues, you know, as she progresses through different stages of life. And she's got a new baby now. She just had a baby with her husband in January, so we'll talk a little bit with her about that. Her adorable pet, Tian Fu. We'll talk about her little dog and her new book that's coming out. She's got a book that's coming out. She has so much going on. So I want to get right to this conversation. Iliza is here with us now, so let's bring her in and get this conversation started. All right, Iliza, thank you so much for being here on the Three Things to Know podcast. We appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate your time. Movies, tickets.
Yeah, exactly. And very excited to have you here for the Back in Action tour coming here July 23rd. That'll be in Cleveland. You know, your first 5 specials, you've been all over. Dallas, Denver, Chicago, Nashville. You shot one on a ship on the USS Hornet. Very cool. So I think the big question we want to know is, how did we get so lucky? Why will you be shooting your 6th Netflix special here in Cleveland?
So I chose Cleveland. I chose the big C because it takes a while to make these deals for the specials. And by the time we had agreed on the fact that we were going to do a 6th special, we had done a lot of other also great markets. And Cleveland was one of those cities where it's big. It's a diverse enough audience. So you're not just talking to like carbon copies of yourself, and you get a lot of inclusion in your audience. And it's a major metropolitan city, and it's in the Midwest. I mean, I know Ohio's the Midwest, but I always feel like it's like sneakily to the East Coast. Nobody thinks about that.
We say the Midwest. It's not really geographically the Midwest, but I call it the North Coast. And we do call it the North Coast here if you're on the water, because, you know, West Coast, East Coast, North Coast. So that's what I call it. But
what are people in Michigan? What about their coast? There's so many coasts up there. What if you live in Wisconsin? There's a lot of coasts. So I hope you don't get canceled for that.
Bring it on.
But I picked Cleveland because it was one of the last major cities we had left, because you can't go back into other cities that you just toured because they already saw you. So I thought it'd be great. We always have great shows in Cleveland. And so I was like, let's take it to the north coast of the upper Midwest that touches Pennsylvania.
Okay, we like it. We're here for it. We're very excited for it. We're happy that we beat out anybody else that was in consideration. I'm just going to go ahead and say. Wonderful.
With a bat. Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we do here in Cleveland, the Hard Knocks of Cleveland. Okay, so your tour, it's called Back in Action. Can you give us a little idea of what we can expect from this kind of material?
I always think that question is funny because it's like, you can expect to laugh. There's no lecture on eugenics or anything, but it is the best hour I've written. And it is, I did just have a baby, but I can't say that it's like a mom hour. It is more just like, again, holding up a mirror to society and just sort of calling there. Everybody is welcome to my show. And so I think this show is super inclusive while allowing us to laugh at ourselves. And especially with the way the world is lately, I think it's important to wrap your message in a dose of sugar, but not have anyone leave your show feeling bad. I think everybody leaves feeling uplifted regardless of what rock you crawled out from under. So it's a really fun hour. I've had a lot of fun touring it these past several months.
I can understand why that would be, a weird question for you. What are you going to talk about? How are you going to make us laugh for an hour? But it's, following your career, this is your 6th special. I've looked at, your other specials, watched them on Netflix. If you haven't watched them, you guys, to binge it before you go to the show, because it's very cool to see your progression, and it does very feel like, as a member of your audience, that we are in on the joke with you. You're poking fun at things, but it does feel like it's coming from an authentic place, because it feels like a shared experience that we're having with you kind of along the way.
Yeah, I like to think, that my comedy has evolved over the year. Like, a lot of women, a lot of men too, but people have like grown up with me. Like, you watch me talking about dating and drinking and boys and stuff like that in my 20s, and then I got married. I did a whole special on that. So that's the big compliment I get, is that people have sort of grown up with me, which is very cool. And you try to say things that are impactful, and you try to say things, we always remember we are here to make people think and make them laugh. And so I always feel like when people ask, like, what can we expect, it's like, can we have a free sample? It's like, this isn't Costco. Buy a ticket, you get nothing in the meantime.
Unless you're following on the tour, right? Taking you
I don't
around
even think
and
they do
to the places.
They don't do samples anymore anyway. COVID.
So you're right.
But it's great. It's a lot of fun.
You're right. And you think about the phrase back in action, and following you on social media, I guess the question that comes to mind is, did you ever stop? Because even in the pandemic, when you couldn't do stuff, we saw you behind the scenes working on things. Speaking of your husband, we saw you doing the Don't Panic Pantry on Instagram with your husband. That was very cool. And that actually, congratulations to him, on the cookbook and all that stuff.
Wow, Stephanie, you are very informed. I do not expect this from most podcasts, and I give you all the credit for nailing those talking points. Very good for you. This is what a professional looks like. I'm not even in makeup. You're like ready to go. And I'm like, I'll put it under a hat. So now I feel dwarfed. Look, people need entertainment, and I have a platform, and that is your job at the end of the day, to entertain, but also to make people think and to say what's in your heart. There's all different kinds of performers. During the pandemic, wanted to impact people in a positive way, so we started doing that show. He now has a cookbook, the Don't Panic Pantry cookbook, that will be out in January, so that's very exciting. I took exactly, I think, 6 to 8 weeks off to have my daughter, and then I went right back on tour. And a lot of, as everybody knows, like, COVID took away so much. And so when we were able to reschedule those dates, I was like, if I am not bleeding, I will go. And so, if I didn't feel well, I wouldn't have gone. But that date rolled around for that first date back, and I like squeezed myself into some maternity leggings, and I went back on tour. And a body in motion stays in motion. And yes, I do Pilates. And it's been awesome to be able to work out the way that I'm feeling. And also, I think, just given what we're all going through, it's nice to commune with people on stage and just sort of ask everyone, like, hey, don't we all feel a little weird now? Here's an hour of a vacation. That is my job, is to make people feel good for an hour.
What a great
job.
No more, no less. I mean, yeah. No more, no less. What a great job for us.
I sound like a masseuse. I'm like, it's just 1 hour. But people, I don't take it for granted that not everybody is wealthy. People spend a decent amount of money on these tickets, and in many cases they spend money on gifts that they give me, or homemade cards, or write letters. And this is like a mini vacation, and I take the fact that people bought a ticket, sorry, it's my dog, very seriously. Come here,
bring that puppy in here. I was just thinking about the fact, we'll get to this in a sec. Well, we'll just talk about it now. I got a puppy this weekend. So,
oh my God, is it near?
He's nearby? Downstairs sleeping. He's only 8 weeks old. He's a little unpredictable. But,
oh, wow. Okay,
we just named him yesterday. He's an Australian Shepherd mix, and we just named him Oscar Wilde of the House McCool. And we're going to call him Oscar, but that's his name.
I was like, you're not going to say that whole name.
No.
I love an Australian Shepherd. Does he have blue eyes and a little crop butt, like no tail? The way they do it?
He's got a tail because he's a mix, but he does have the steely gray eyes. So let's talk about Tianfu. I want to know how Tianfu's doing with the baby, with little Sierra May.
I think everybody wants to hear this incredible, like, they're best friends. She gives her rides around the house. My dog, it's various shades of nonplus. Like, the other day she sniffed Sierra's head, and like, that's the most. Tianfu lives for every night when we get in bed after the baby's gone to sleep. And she's like, remember me? I was your baby. And she gets all the love. So it's two different muscles in your heart when you love a baby or you love a dog. You can be much more aggressive with the dog, and you can kiss them deeper in the mouth, and child services won't be called.
Well, and I don't know, probably freak you out more with my stalker level of preparation, but I promise you, I'm not a stalker. It's my job to be on social media. I've been following your career for a long time. I first saw you. I don't know if you will remember this. You had Blanche at the time. You were still workshopping the Sarah McLachlan song with Blanche, and it was at a comedy show at a pet store in LA for the Two Girls One Pup comedy show, and that's where I first saw you, and I've been following you ever since.
Oh my God. You know what's so crazy is that I actually remember that show, because I remember thinking, this is the worst idea to have a show in a pet store because dogs are barking. Like, you're getting heckled by like Dalmatian mixes barking at you. That was so long ago. Yeah, Blanche was always a treat. Everybody always liked her. And she's been to Cleveland a few times. And so we'll bring Tianfu this time. She can walk in her ancient footsteps.
Well, I look forward to seeing Tianfu scuttle out with you on the stage, whether you're holding her or not. Now, I want to get to your new book that you have coming out quickly. I want to make sure we can talk about this. Your first book, I think it was your first book. Girl Logic was your first book, right? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
That was very funny. I enjoyed that. Hilarious notes on the way women process things. This one, all things aside, and I want to read this review from Margaret Cho, who's incredible, because I want people to hear it. Every woman has something to gain from the Every Woman Iliza presents in her hilarious and astute worldview. I've learned that you don't have to quit when you are in pain, that you can write your way out of the suffering, that there is beautiful truth to be unearthed from the depths of despair, that the stupid can be smart, and that we put ourselves through hell for nothing. And that's available for pre-order now, by the way. But in being familiar with your material, that's a wonderful review. I was a little bit surprised because it sounds like we're going to see a little bit more of a darker side, maybe.
Margaret is always eloquent and elegant and at times stoic. And when I read that review, I was like, wow, you got that from this? Thanks, Margaret. She's great. And that's why I asked her for a quote. This book is, I opted to do, Girl Logic was more like an exploratory like thesis without like any sort of, no one asked for it. This is a collection of essays. I'd been reading a lot of personal essay books, and I was like, I'm going to do my take on things. You know, I think a lot of times as women, it's like, well, who wants to hear what I have to say? And people sort of beat you down for giving an opinion. And I'm like, you know what? I've lived a little bit of a life, 39. I've been through some things. So commentary on, to say pedantic makes it sound like these things are inconsequential, but commentary on small things. You know, I'm not solving the Middle East crisis here. And it's more my commentary on society's commentary, the endless bullshit, and then personal stories that I think people will find themselves in, even if you haven't experienced it, just because of the heart and the comedy. So I'm extremely proud of this collection of essays. Yes, it is available for pre-order for months and months now, but it's out in October. Yeah.
All right. So very exciting. We can see you here on July 23rd. You can get your pre-order in. Grab that book, grab Girl Logic if you haven't read it yet. It's hilarious. And one more thing I want to talk to you about, the new motherhood thing. Obviously, that's huge in your life. The baby was just born in January. You are taking, I think, in my unsolicited, unnecessary opinion, a very cool approach to sharing your motherhood in the public eye on social media. And I would love to know, if you're willing to share, what those conversations were like when you were deciding how you were going to go about doing what you're doing, and tell people what you're doing.
You know what's funny is that there were no conversations. It was like from the bottom of my heart from the get-go. Like, I never even showed my pregnant belly, like in a bathing suit or anything. I think the internet can be a very dark and unforgiving place, and people take so much from you as it is, no matter how much you share. And so the little that I could control, I decided to do that. So I don't share her face. This has nothing, this is, yeah, I'm famous, but it's, you know, you see Beyonce's kids' faces, you know, but there is a security issue, and there is just the idea of autonomy. And the more we become ensconced in all things internet, the more those are her choices and her right. I don't want to do that. No one really needs to see her face. I promise she's gorgeous. There's just no reason to share it. And I find that once you draw that line, people do respect it. And it's such a special thing. It's such an emotional, special thing, and I'm really enjoying it for myself. there are so many women out there who motherhood is hard. I mean, it's hard for everyone, but make fun, and they have fun with it, and they share their experiences. Women talk about being exhausted and the trials and tribulations, and there's so many women out there doing that work that's so important. And they don't need my voice added to it. I also, and I don't feel bad about this at all, I have full-time help. I've chosen, I work really hard, and I have someone, so I'm able to just enjoy my baby, and I'm not up with her in the ways that a lot of women are. And I respect women that are able to do that. And so I'm trying to figure out my perspective on motherhood, because I can't join in, and I'm not going to pretend to be tired when I'm not. And I'm not going to, I had a miscarriage, and I talked about that. We all have little things that we choose to share, but it's okay to keep some things for yourself. Nobody wants to see me staring at her, crying at her, like biting her hand, being like, "You're just mommy's precious angel."
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun. The little foot bites, they're cute.
Foot bites. It's a sacred, precious journey. And I'll just dispense bits of it where I can, but she's precious and it's private. And I'm just really enjoying keeping that to myself, I guess, for now, until she bothers me. And then she's going on the internet.
She's going on blast with some shaming, like puppy shaming, but for a human.
I actually also have to say, it is, women are so harshly judged no matter what you do, whether you have kids or you don't, or you're trying. And I talk about this in my act. And I see the way women get judged when they share the way in which they're parenting. And it's not something that I'm willing to sign up for. You don't need to know what formula I use, if I breastfed, which I did, how long I did it for. It's nobody's business, because we're really big on forcing women to have children. And then once they do, not that I was forced, once a woman does have a child, we're positive no woman knows what she's doing. And I'm smart enough to know that I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm confident in my ways. So I'm just not interested in anyone's feedback, put it that way.
It almost kind of reminds me, here's another throwback for you, the early days of when you were dating your husband and he was Smokey Husky. We didn't see his face. We didn't know who he was, but we just knew he was there, and he had this presence, and it was cool. It was this private thing for you guys. And as someone who was a viewer, that was cool to see, that sort of respect of that relationship.
I think it's okay to keep things private until you're positive how you want to organically share it. I think there's this need now. Everything we do, we take a picture, we put it online, and I do participate in that. But the bottom line is, having gone through this, and even before I was a mother, I so respect the way, aside from feeding your kids cigarettes, I so respect the way every woman deals with her own fertility, deciding not to have kids, trying to have kids, having the kids. Let the women do what they need to do, and just respect that every woman and every mother is doing her absolute best. And it's all just going to be different. I take no pleasure in judging other mothers, women. And now that I am a mother, I'm like, I get it. And you know what I can't wait for? To bring my baby on a plane and have her cry, because I have listened to everyone's baby cry. And did she cry last time? No, but one day she will. And I'm just going to stare at you all and cheers and be like, yeah, listen to it. Enjoy
Sweet vindication.
Yes, sweet vindication.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us, Iliza. We're very excited to have you here in Cleveland. Looking forward to whatever you do share in the Back in Action tour. That's coming here on July 23rd, everybody. Get your tickets now. Iliza, thanks for joining us here on the 3 Things to Know podcast.
Thanks, Stephanie. Have a good one.
Okay. Obviously, as soon as that conversation ended, I had to go downstairs and check on this little buddy. And now he's ready. He's done from his nap to say hello. Say hello, Oscar. This is our little buddy. This is the little Australian Shepherd mix. We got him Memorial Day weekend, and we could not be happier that he's the new addition to the family. So, Oscar, I'm sorry that you didn't get to meet Iliza and Tian Fu, but you're just a little unpredictable in your puppy days. So, here he is. A little wiggly. And he'll co-host the rest of this with me. Oscar, let's tell them what they need to know in NEO. Here's what you need to know in NEO. Iliza's show, July 23rd. There are 2 tapings. It's at the Connor Palace in Playhouse Square, 7 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. You can get those tickets at iliza.com/tour. I just love the camera doesn't quite get it, but he's resting his head on the desk. He loves to rest. He loves to rest his head on the desk. What do you think, buddy? Do you want to sit right here? Do you want to put your paws on the laptop? He is, he's wonderful. Okay, so iliza.com/tour. It is at, as I said, the Connor Palace in Playhouse Square. Get those tickets right away. And that brings me to a good follow. This is who you need to be following here in Northeast Ohio. If you're interested in these kinds of things, you can follow Playhouse Square on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook, so you can keep up to date on the cool events coming to town, because it's incredible that we get these great shows here in Cleveland. I can't stress that enough to people. You know, as I mentioned, I lived in LA, I lived in New York. Now being here in Cleveland, we really do. We get great shows. We have great entertainment options. There's so much culture to be offered here in Cleveland. So if you want to stay on top of it, follow Playhouse Square. Their handle on everything is just Playhouse Square. So Instagram at Playhouse Square, Twitter at Playhouse Square, Facebook.com/Playhouse Square. And of course, follow Iliza. I like to follow her on Instagram. So her Instagram handle is Iliza S. So there you have it. That's everything that you need to know to be hip to this incredible show coming to Cleveland. Did I mention that I'm excited about it? Clearly I am. Okay, thank you guys for being here with me for this episode of the 3 Things to Know podcast. I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. Leave us a rating and a review, and subscribe if you haven't already. Those reviews and those ratings really do help us connect with more people here in Northeast Ohio. And Oscar wants you too! All right, thanks guys. I will see you next time on 3 Things to Know. Buddy. Love you.
Thanks for listening to 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney from WKYC Studios. Subscribe now to stay in the know.